Dreams without goals can only be dreams. From being a product manager in a US based company to now a full time traveler.
I've been to, as of now, 29 countries. That's one niche where you actually need money.
You would have started to invest early in the age, right?
Yeah, that was a very small chunk I was getting. I made sure a certain percentage is always there because I always knew the benefits of compounding over the years.
Do you use credit card? Do you use prepaid cards? Tell us some hacks. How do you score those cheapest flight, cheapest hotel options?
The month and the dates. So I am now a genius member 3 of that.
How critical is travel insurance? Hello everyone and welcome to another season of House of Equentis. I am Alok Arya and today we have a not so conventional guest with us. We have Anu Sharma with us. Yes, she's a small town girl from Jaipur, but trust me, her inspiring story gave me goosebumps when I actually was chatting her before the start of this podcast. She has inspired lakhs of people across the country by switching off from being a product manager in a US based company to now a full time traveler. Yes, you heard that right. And Anu, I still am not able to get those goosebumps off, but it's really a story that every corporate employee would want to live someday. So we welcome you to the House of Equentis podcast. But today we are also going to speak more about how this journey of yours has been not only fulfilling to your heart, but also you have ensured that your finances supported your dreams, right?
Sure.
So welcome again. And how are you feeling now? Like, you're out from the 9 to 5 job of a product manager and full-time traveling the globe. How's it like?
First of all, thank you so much, Alok, for inviting me. And to answer your question, I am feeling great. I'm feeling like relieved. I feel like now it's all about the dream which I have, thought of pursuing it 4 years back. And now it's the time when I'm doing it full time. I don't have to think about meetings or calls anymore. It's just pure sheer of creativity and freedom, and it's just more amazing, I'll say.
Quick one to start the conversation. I'm just inquisitive. How many countries have you traveled so far and which ones are your favorite?
I've been to, as of now, 29 countries, and my favorite is Iceland so far. And that country just amazed me. It was my bucket list, but the moment I visited it, it was worth all the hype it has. So, yeah.
Great. As a travel influencer, I'm sure you're constantly on the move, discovering new places, new cultures, and of course, new experiences.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like we were talking about, travel isn't free.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you approach travel planning from a financial perspective? How do you plan all your money required, or if you have some travel hacks?
Yeah, definitely. So that's one niche where you actually need money. It's not free, first of all. And what I do is whenever, like for a first 1 year, for example, I want to travel to like 4 countries or 4 places, different places, I have to jot down a rough estimate of the budget first. That is one. Now, say I have a goal of 5 lakhs for this year where I have to invest that much money for my travels. I have to plan it in advance. So earlier I was doing my job. So if I'm getting X amount of money, I was investing like around 40% into this. Then rest of the amount, so I have reduced my expenditure first for all. So there's a certain percentage I have allocated to my travel and investment and my basic necessities. So I try to make a balance between these 3, being investment the constant one for the long term investment, but keeping the rest of it planning according to my goals. So the moment that 5 lakh budget kept on shifting, I planned accordingly and invested accordingly. Yeah, because that's one thing which you definitely need if you want to go anywhere.
So goal-based investing definitely, I think, is the talk of the town. And when we talk about following your passion, following your dreams, like they say, right? Dreams without goals can only be dreams. if you set out on a dream but you have a goal to be achieved, then I'm sure it fructifies well. But what
Yeah.
I'm getting from you, Anu, is that you planned your finances well in advance, and I'm sure you would have started to invest early in the age, right?
Yeah, the moment I landed to my first job, I started my SIP right away. Even though that was a very small chunk I was getting, I made sure a certain percentage is always there because I always knew the benefits of compounding over the years. I'm like from past 10 years I'm working, so I knew that where I have to reach. Earlier travel was not in my plan, but investing for sure from starting.
So as your travel plans started to become bigger and bigger, I'm sure you would have scaled up your SIPs or started to invest more parallelly, right?
Yeah, that was exponential. Like whatever amount I was, that was increased. It was always increased up to that level. So I made sure that percentage is maintained, whatever I'm getting per month.
Well, that's a great input for all our viewers. Like I said, goal-based investing, while it might sound technical and it might sound jargonish, but here's a living example, right? Anu is living her dream, but what actually helped her realize her dream is essentially a disciplined approach to invest early and then reaps benefit of compounding. Okay, Anu, quick question. Do you use, apart from SIPs, have you also been investing in equities to help you plan those better, or have you actually restricted to SIPs only?
No. SIPs was just one area. I have diversified my portfolio in several things, and equity is one of the forte which I got introduced to in I think past 6-7 years. I've started getting into it. My partner definitely helped me a lot because he is literally aware of the market and he helps me out. But he just gave me the initial knowledge, but I kind of pursued it because I knew that this is one forte which I have to excel because if I have to I started planning my full-time travel from 2-3 years only from past 2-3 years, so I have to plan that amount of cushion, that emergency fund amount, everything in because for the next 2 years or 3 years I'm not getting that my salary, for example. So how will I deal with it? So how will it impact my travel? So everything was planned, and equity being a major part after SIP, I'll say.
Right. And when you are traveling, do you use your travel credit cards, or do you have any other special approach that, okay, I will use cash? Because I've been hearing a lot from a lot of, I would say, key opinion leaders in the travel space that if you use more cash, you restrict your expenses and suddenly your psychology comes into play wherein you're counting hard cash and you'll spend less. So do you use the same principle? Do you use credit card? Do you use prepaid cards? Tell us some hacks.
Yeah, so I kind of distribute it into different segments. So I definitely have some cards which have given me a lot of benefits. So if you ask me about any of my foreign trips, I use my forex cards. I have like Neo Global credit card, for example, to do my transaction that is seamless. Then I have invested in a credit card where I pursue a certain percentage of my expenses through it. Like earlier I was using the Vistara card, for example, and it given me a lot of benefits in terms of flights only, and that kind of helped me. And a certain percentage to cash, definitely, but I kind of allocate more percentage to credit cards because I know the benefits of miles over the time. So I've recently, after this Vistara merger, Air India merger, I've started using Atlas, Access Atlas, and I know that if you just transfer your expenses through it, making sure you have that amount to pay for your bill as well. Like some people treat credit card as a different thing, but yeah, if you keep that in mind, it gives you a lot of benefits. Yeah, in terms of flights or hotels, anything. Half of my hotels and flights are booked through miles, and that
Through
gives
miles?
through
Wow.
miles, and that's
Interesting.
definitely a very good option. People should try and have definitely.
So my next question is actually related, and I'm sure a lot of viewers would want to know this.
Yeah.
How do you score those cheapest flight, cheapest hotel options? When I say cheapest, not like low on quality,
Yeah.
but definitely, there are hacks and ways and means wherein you can figure out the best flight, I mean, the most efficient or economical flight option, hotel stay, and experiences.
Yeah, definitely. So there are like a couple of platforms which we are now aware of, like Skyscanner and all, where you find the flights. One thing I have, always explored is that I am not making myself very restricted to the dates of travel and the months of travel. So I try to first find out a shoulder season, which is just before the peak time or just after the peak time to any certain country. That is A, because the hotel rates and everything just drill down to 70 or 60%.
Wow.
Yeah, that is one, like a very basic one. Second is the month and the dates. So people usually, I know it's not possible with everyone. They have limited amount of leaves and they have to plan. But trust me, you have to just believe in the flexible, the dates. For example, recently I booked my tickets from Delhi to New York and it was only for 56,000 return. And that was like something like a steal deal which I got because I was flexible with the dates. Like just one day after which I wanted to go, I just transformed it and it was a very great deal. It was like 85K just a day prior and 56K a day after. So these kind of small things that comes into when you are planning. But definitely like the credit cards thing that gives you a very give cushion. And like for example, I use booking.com for all my bookings. So I am now a genius member 3 of that. So that definitely gives me a certain percentage of discount on every booking, and like 10 to 15% depending on different hotels. And there are different programs of different hotels. If you enroll in it, you get a good discount and percentage in advance, when the festive season is there or something. So yeah, keeping everything in mind, if you plan, definitely you can land up to a very reasonable but a good quality amount of trips.
No, I think it's quite insightful, and what I take away, and most of our viewers also should, that I think meticulous planning is the key, right? If you're traveling a country, if you're traveling a state, but if you're able to plan for it, efficiently, if you're able to spend some time researching, ensuring that what seasons to travel, I'm sure you can make a lot of savings on your travel cost and stay cost.
Definitely.
Tell me, when I travel, usually on domestic trips, I usually ignore the insurance part.
Yeah.
How critical is travel insurance?
That's the first thing I always make sure that I have. I mean, even for foreign countries, you don't have to, for a few of the visas, that's like a mandatory. You need a travel insurance. But I always advise to all my viewers that whenever you are planning any trip internationally or domestically, you have to take a travel insurance, because I have seen that there were like some medical emergencies. Like we were on a skiing trip, for example, and my partner, he got a ligament injury, for example. The whole cost of that was so much that I was just so relaxed that I have a travel insurance. There was one time when my bag was lost. There are so many instances which you cannot predict, even though you are very cautious about it. So travel insurance just relieves that part. I'm now focusing on the places, on the experiences, rather than those mishappenings, which can occur anytime and you don't have control on. So earlier I used to take travel insurance on every trip, but now I've taken like a 1 year thing, travel insurance with different companies, which can help me out throughout my trips, which I do in a year. But I definitely recommend that that's like a must thing before you move for any kind of trip. Yeah,
Right.
abroad.
So, considering all of these parameters, first being your planning for flights, second being your flights or travel, second being your planning for hotels, third insurance. Do you still believe that someone can really afford to travel across the globe in a very tight budget, or someone needs to really splurge every time he or she travels?
They can do it in budget, and that's the most amazing thing. Like if I talk about my story, the first trip I did was Dubai, for example, for 30,000 only. Like it was a return, I think 4 years back, for example. I know there are certain parameters, but that time I got to realize that people are selling the travel packages of Dubai or talking that it's very expensive, you need 1 lakh minimum, for example. And I did it in 30K and just realized that if you compromise, I'll say, or few adjustments are there in certain parameters, that I don't always look for a big resort or luxury stays. I found a comfortable one. So if you're just ready to do little bit adjustments, and you have to choose your thing, you cannot get everything, right? So if you choose your comfort zone and just plan accordingly, you can do it in like 50% or 60%. I've seen that much amount of, and now when I share these tips with my friends and all, they are doing such a budget friendly trips that I feel like people should know about it more. Yeah.
All right. My next question, I'm just trying to extend this conversation around traveling tight or budget. What's your favorite country or the best destination that you've traveled and it was just a steal? Like you could manage it in quite a smart budget.
Yeah, I think Dubai was one of it. that it was like a steal deal which we did. And also if I talk about Iceland, it's like a pretty expensive country, but we planned so smartly, I'll say, in advance. For example, it was a long term planning, like from past 6 months I was planning for Iceland. Everything I planned on my own, and I was surprised when I see the difference between Iceland trips where people usually spend and which I have done with my partner. So yeah, Iceland was one of it, because I knew that there are certain things where I don't want to spend. Like for example, food in Iceland is very expensive. And being a vegetarian, we already have very limited options. So I just try to carry some of my food along, and we hired a camper van instead of staying in hotels and roads. So we were fine with that. So people are not comfortable with living in a camper van. So it depends on what kind of adjustments you can do. But Iceland is one of it where I'm proud that we did in such a good budget.
So apart from Iceland and Dubai, if you were to give our viewers top 5 countries for someone who wants to start traveling to first go visit in limited budgets, how would you rate those top 5 countries?
I will say Sri Lanka is a very budget friendly country. Second, I'll say Thailand for sure. Third is Indonesia. And when I say Indonesia, not particularly Bali, but there are so many different islands which you can explore. And fourth, I'll say Laos. Nowadays, it's booming.
Laos.
Laos,
right.
yeah. And fifth, I'll say is, I think, Nepal or Bhutan. They are also very good options that you can do it. Yeah.
A very personal question. Have you ever taken a loan to travel?
Never, ever. That's like a one big no that
I met a friend recently, and he has 2 kids now and has some decent obligations. He was telling me he took a personal loan of some 5 lakhs to travel to Europe with his family, and he was actually very proud of that. Though he was sounding a little braggy about it. He's like, I just happened to use my credit card and I actually loaned. But I was actually thinking in my head that is it right to actually borrow and travel? What's your take on that?
No, I definitely, that's the one thing I just, you can travel to Europe any point of time when you have that money, but you don't have to travel because you want to travel to that place. Mm-hmm. I literally make sure if I have budget of like, for example, 10,000, I make sure I just travel to those small cities where I can pull that off. But loan is one thing that was a big no in my life from very starting. I have not taken a single loan in my life because I was very sure. And I will say, like, for example, a car loan, home loan, that makes sense that, you plan accordingly. But travel is for, especially for people who are not doing it for this is like a leisure activity. And leisure is where you spend like only 30-40% of your income. I'm not sure how loan will solve that purpose, but loan, I'm not very much aligned with taking loans and traveling, because that gives you a different level of financial pressure, and that's just the opposite of travel. I mean, the meaning of travel. So totally not aligned.
Sure. For your travel, like you said, you've traveled some 29 countries. You would pick up Airbnb, hotels, or on your own. What of the 3 would you pick up? Like, you go there and you decide on your own, or you will pick up Airbnb, or you pre-book hotels?
When I'm traveling solo, I definitely prefer hostels. I prefer it's more safe and it's more economical, and I find people to gel around, to get a different perspective of that country. But when I'm going with my family or with my partner, we prefer Airbnbs because the food part is sorted, to be honest, and we have a different set of freedom in terms of the space, and we get to know when we meet the owner of the Airbnbs or something, like it's a totally different experience. And usually Airbnbs are made into such different areas that it gives you a whole different vibe of that whole country, which you would have not get if you get into hotels. So hotels for me is just the last option, but I definitely prefer Airbnbs and hostels.
Great. Yeah. So again, my takeaway from this question was essentially to think that what's your preference and what's your style of traveling, right? If you're traveling solo, like she said, you can use a hostel, which essentially provides you security and that social fabric around you. You can gel up with people, but you should definitely choose one basis your preference. I would recommend don't go on random suggestions of some maybe cheap hotels at times or maybe luxurious hotels. Anything and everything should suit your preference.
Definitely.
Anu, on the travel part, just one last question and then we'll shift gears. when you're traveling to an exotic place, say for instance, tell me the most exotic place you've traveled to first.
Exotic. It can be Norway, for example.
All right,
somewhere.
Norway. I haven't traveled, but let me take that as one of the exotic places. So, if you're traveling to Norway, I'm sure you've had your experience and it's exotic for a reason.
Yeah.
But a lot of people end up spending a chunk of their savings in traveling to these so called exotic places. May it be for a honeymoon, may it be a tick mark on the travel bucket list, as we say. But I want to hear from you, who's an avid traveler, has traveled 29 countries. How does this definition of exotic travel, which has now become a vanity, right? If someone of your age hasn't traveled to Europe, he or she is looked down to. How does one handle that pressure, and how does one define that what's exotic for me could actually be not be exotic to the world? How do you handle that, and how do you plan for it?
I mean, that's well said. Some people have their bucket list just because of the whole glamour thing on social media, or maybe XYZ reasons of bragging it. But I feel travel is something which comes from within. Like, even if I travel to a very small, quaint village of Himachal or Uttarakhand, I feel the same vibe. So, initially over the years, I've realized that this exotic thing, it's everything is in your mind. That pressure only you are creating, because maybe you are insecure that somebody have went there and you feel like no, I get a validation. The social validation nowadays is like a big thing, and people think the validation comes from visiting a certain country. If you just let go of that thing, you are totally relieved. Like, for example, Maldives, I feel it's like one of the exotic destination people prefer it for honeymoon. And when I ask some of them really want to enjoy the Maldives, like, the water and underwater life. I totally understand at that point of time. Some people are just doing under pressure. They don't even get out of their villas or house and get those experiences for which Maldives are famous for. So I feel like, why are you going then? You could just stay in a small city also, you can just explore that. But they are like, no, I think that's the one destination for honeymoon. So I feel that's just in your head, and you have to just think twice. Do I really want to do it or not? Are you doing it for people or for yourself? So if you answer those questions, you get your answer. Yeah.
Great. I think that was pretty insightful. So about locations, about hotels, about travel itinerary, I'm sure all our viewers and I personally have got a lot of insight. Let me just shift gear and a very critical question now. What's your investment mantra? While we have heard that you do not borrow, you do not, I would say, make a hasty decision when you're traveling, you'll plan it out. But for now that you've shifted from being a full-time employee, a 9 to 5 job is no more there. I'm sure you have to support your expenses and there are family commitments. What's your investment mantra like? Your journey as a travel influencer, I'm sure it has a decent inflow. How do you plan your investments? What are your goals? How do you ensure that your dream, which you're living right now, of traveling across the globe, continues at the same pace?
Definitely. So this, quitting my whole job, that was well planned in advance. And how did I reach to that, answer was, I had enough amount of money for the next 2-3 years, even if I travel to the bare minimum places I want to, really. So I have done all the investments in advance for those I've just done the long-term planning for next 5 years, and for 10 years. I have like different set of goals which I've kept. Like this year, I want to visit these 2 countries. So I've already sorted out the budget. For the rest of the 3 or 5 years, I have the cushion, so I can plan in equity, I can plan in SIPs. That depends on different variety. And there are certain things where the inflow is there from, my travel journey. I try to give a certain percentage to my expenditure, but making sure that I have the emergency funds ready as well whenever I need it in the liquid form. So I have tried to diversify my income into different streams based on different goals over the years, 2, 5, 10. That's what I have vision till now. So yeah, if you ask me different instruments, it's been SIP, it's been equity. I've also doing it in PPF from a very long time. PPF, somebody is like, okay, why PPF? But I know the benefits of compounding and the taxation things also comes up. And when you are doing this as a sole prop for the travel, I know the whole taxation things also comes into the picture. The GST and everything comes into the picture. So I have to plan everything in advance for sure. So yeah, do it likewise.
I think that's brilliant, and I'm sure that's like $1 million advice to all our viewers. You've actually broken down your goals into small milestones, right? If you have to travel, say, within the country in the next 1 year, I'm
Yeah.
sure you said you'd sorted. Maybe if you've planned it for the next 5 years, you've broken it down into that. Okay, next 2 years for this, next 2 years for this, and that's
Yeah.
how you plan. And long term, because essentially it gives you compounding benefit and it helps you travel more freely without the burden of saying, oh my god, I'll pinch my pocket and when I come back I'm actually broke. So I think a great piece of advice to all our viewers also, and that's what we at Equentis also recommend, that whenever you're planning, be it travel, your life, or investments at large, have that long term horizon. Let consistency, let discipline be the key, and then reap the benefits of compounding for you to be on the top of your game and not feel broke once you've traveled Europe, like in my friend's case. All right, Anu, quick last round. We'll have an interesting rapid fire just
Okay.
for us, our viewers to get some fun answers from you.
Yeah.
Tell us one destination that has disappointed you.
Okay. I will say Paris. That's one of the destinations. That's very overhyped in my opinion. But yeah, I feel that disappointed. I mean, it's a good city, but I don't. The kind of love city it has been portrayed. I mean, it's fine. It's decent. The Eiffel Tower is there. It's good, but I was not very much aligned with that destination.
So Paris was a disappointment.
Paris was a disappointment for me, for
All
sure.
right. One travel destination that you haven't been to, but you really want to.
I will say Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
That is like one of my long-term investment. I have to do for it. But that's my dream, like literally,
Solo or with a partner?
with my partner for sure.
Great. Family or partner?
Mm, family,
Solo or family?
solo.
So solo comes on the top. So
Yeah.
I mean that's. Is it because you spend less and get a lot of me time, or is it because you really want to be with yourself and hence you take that call?
It's like a different freedom it gives you. I don't have to, it's on me. Some days I don't want to do anything. I can just sleep, and I'm not feeling guilty that rest of the people are dependent on me on that part. So solo gives you a different freedom in terms of budget for sure. I can do like a 2 month, 3 month long trip because I'm doing it on budget. I don't have to answer anyone. I have to do. It's a different kind of freedom. But nowadays I'm feeling more comfortable with my partner. It's like there's a beautiful site I want to experience and share it with someone. So then a partner comes into and yeah.
India or Australia?
Australia,
India or the US?
India.
There you go. So a lot of people who are wanting to travel to Vegas or Los Angeles, I'm sure we've got better choices in India. So do plan it accordingly. One last longest question. A lot of people have this fascination to travel to the West, to travel abroad.
Yeah.
I see a lot of peer pressure on people saying, if it's a travel plan per year, I need to travel 2-3 countries.
Yeah.
Have you followed that, or have you actually explored India first? And when you felt that, okay, now I've seen majority of the Indian diaspora, Indian culture, do I need to step out? What's been your journey so far, and what would you advise our viewers?
I totally have to say this loud that India itself has so much to offer. It's so diverse that as I said, I shifted in Manali for 3 years. My agenda was to cover the nearby places. When I say Himachal, Leh, or Spiti, or Uttarakhand, I made sure Northeast, everything. So I covered each and every place which I really want to cover in India first. And then I think after 2-3 years, I visited Vietnam for the first time. Like after COVID, I'm saying, when I shifted to this full time, because India itself has so many cultures and stories and different terrains, and especially now after visiting 29 countries, I feel India is the most diverse country. Whenever I go, like I see a particular terrain, I feel like, oh, it's similar to Leh, oh, it's similar to Meghalaya, oh, it's similar to Kerala. I kind of compare it because that comes within. So you have to definitely start with India first and then plan for abroad.
Are you a hill person or a beach person?
Hill for sure.
I'm sure you've spent 3 years in Manali. Like I was asking you, I'm sure that's more peaceful, that's more quaint of a place. But did you feel that after having spent so many years in city life, that isolation or that silence was actually not as comforting, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, initially it was different, but I shifted there after 1 year of COVID terrain. So ultimately, the city thing shifted gradually. Like I was in Mumbai, then I shifted to Ahmedabad during COVID. So it was like a small steps I did. And then I went from Ahmedabad during COVID, I shifted to Manali. It was a smooth switch, and I just figured that nature has a lot to offer, and it's the biggest life lessons you can learn from nature itself. So I feel that when I'm within nature doing treks and hikes or just doing nothing, so I feel very comfortable.
Great, thank you, Anu, and I must say it's a very inspiring journey. I'm sure a lot of us here in the room are definitely jealous of what you do for a living, and a lot of our viewers look up to people like you who can actually inspire them to follow their dreams. But I think key takeaways from this conversation, Anu, specifically for me, is that, like I said, dreams without goals are actually dreams. If you need to pursue your dream, you need to have proper planning for it. And like I said, for everything good to happen, it takes time. For you to travel the globe, 29 countries, I'm sure it took you 4-5 years. Yeah. But if you have planned it efficiently, if you have looked at the long term, if you followed a disciplined approach, you followed your investments consistently, investing in them, not ensuring that you get rattled or hassled by the market or the outside factors, you can really pursue your dreams. Lastly, I'm sure the life, or the free life as you call it, after exiting the corporate jungle, now that you are living, and I'm sure with a big smile on your face, you're living it wholeheartedly. Yeah. A lot of us want to live that life, but having said that, Anu definitely ensured that she had planned her finances, she had planned her commitments, and definitely her wealth creation mantra still remains the same. Break it into smaller milestones, have a very clear goal-based investing approach, and thus take that leap of faith to follow your dreams. So thank you, Anu, and we wish you all the very best. We will definitely keep bothering you to give us some greatest itineraries that you've traveled, across the globe, and we'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting. It was a pleasure, and I totally loved it. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we'll take a leave right now, and stay tuned. We'll be back with a lot of more interesting people with many more inspiring and motivating stories. Till then, thank you.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.